This dog hadn't eaten in days, not because there wasn't food, but because he had stopped trying. The shelter staff had done everything, different meals, quiet rooms, even hand feeding. Nothing worked. Every morning the bowl was still full, and every day he got weaker. Then one afternoon, a 6-year-old girl walked in, and everything changed. The shelter was loud that day. Kids laughing, puppies barking, volunteers moving quickly from one kennel to another. But at the very end of the hallway, it was quiet. Too quiet. That's where he was. A thin, motionless dog lying against the wall, barely lifting his head when people passed. Most visitors stopped for a second, then moved on. It was hard to look at him for long, so they didn't. But she did. Her name was Lily, 6 years old, quiet, the kind of child who noticed things others didn't. While the other kids rushed toward the playful dogs, Lily slowed down, then stopped, then turned, and walked back to the one no one else chose. The dog didn't react when she approached, didn't lift his head, didn't move, just lay there like the world had already ended for him. A bowl of food sat right beside him, untouched. One of the volunteers noticed Lily standing there. "Sweetheart, that dog is very sick," she said gently. "Maybe look at the others?" But Lily didn't answer. She kept watching him, like she understood something no one had said out loud. Then she did something no one expected. She opened the kennel door and stepped inside. The volunteer froze. "Wait," she started, but Lily had already sat down. Not too close, just enough to be there. For a moment, nothing happened. The dog didn't move. The hallway noise faded behind them. It was just the two of them, still, quiet. Lily reached toward the food bowl, slowly, carefully. She picked up a small piece and held it in her hand. She didn't push it toward him. She didn't call his name. She just waited. Seconds passed. Then something changed. The dog moved. Barely, but enough. His head lifted. Slow. Heavy. Like it took everything he had left. And then, for the first time since arriving at the shelter, he looked at someone. Not past them. Not through them. At them. The volunteer stopped breathing. The dog leaned forward, carefully, uncertain, and took the food from Lily's hand. Silence. Because for days, he hadn't eaten anything. That moment was caught on camera. Later, the staff would replay it again and again, trying to understand what they had just witnessed, because nothing they had done had worked. But she had. The dog's name was Atlas, and before the shelter, he had a life. He belonged to a man named Richard Cole, a retired firefighter. For 8 years, they were inseparable. Richard had found Atlas during a house fire, just a small, frightened puppy hiding under debris. He carried him out and never let him go. They became everything to each other. Routine, loyalty, quiet companionship, the kind of bond that doesn't need words. Then, one morning, Richard didn't wake up. Atlas didn't understand. He just knew something was gone. The family tried to take him in, but it wasn't the same. Different voices, different smells, different silence. One day, Atlas ran. They found him weeks later, standing near a highway, not barking, not moving, just standing there, like he didn't care what happened next. At the shelter, his body could be treated, but something else had already shut down. Until Lily. She came back the next day, and the next, and the next. Every afternoon after school, she sat beside him. Same spot, same quiet voice, same patience. Sometimes he ate, sometimes he didn't, but she never rushed him, never got frustrated, never gave up. And slowly, he came back. First, he started lifting his head when she walked in. Then he stood, unsteady but trying. One afternoon, his tail moved. Just once. The staff noticed immediately. "He's waiting for her," one of them whispered. Weeks passed, and Atlas changed.
The emptiness in his eyes began to fade. At home, Lily talked about him constantly, at dinner, before bed, in the car. Her parents listened, at first carefully, then differently, because this wasn't just a story anymore, it was something real. One evening, Lily asked again, "Can he come home with us?" This time, they didn't say no. A few days later, they returned to the shelter together, and before Lily fully understood what was happening, the paperwork was signed. Atlas was going home. The first days were quiet. No excitement, no sudden change, just space and patience. Lily stayed close, but not too close. She had learned that. She sat beside him, just like before. And Atlas remembered. Weeks turned into months. His body grew stronger. His steps became steady. His coat regained its shine. But the real change was in the way he lived. He ran. He played. He followed Lily everywhere. Every morning he walked her to the door. Every afternoon he was already there, waiting. And Lily changed too. At school, she started talking more, laughing more, joining in. Not because she became someone else, but because she wasn't alone anymore. At home, their days were simple. Playing in the yard, quiet evenings, walks through the neighborhood. Nothing extraordinary. And yet, everything was different. Because the dog who had stopped eating had found a reason to live again. And the girl who felt unseen had found someone who saw her completely. And somewhere in between, without anyone forcing it, without anyone planning it, they saved each other. And neither of them would ever be the same again.